Can you imagine having a farm or a ranch, just private property, bigger than other countries? That's insane, right? Well, we're looking at the single Australian farm that's bigger than 49 countries. Absolutely outrageous. This is from a channel called Half as Interesting. Being linked in the description down below so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted. This is a Discord suggestion from Tropic Salt. Let's go. This is insane.
Anna Creek Station is massive. Whether you describe it as a privately held piece of property or a ranch, it's the biggest one of those.
Wow.
It's as tall as the Netherlands, as wide as Wales, and basically every article about it adeptly mentions that it's bigger in total size than Israel.
Wow.
A perfect choice for comparison, given that Israel's size is very constant and in no way subject to controversy. It also happens to be bigger than El Salvador, Belize, Djibouti, and literally dozens of other countries.
That's insane.
But hey, all engagement is good engagement. While its size is surprising, Anna Creek's location isn't. Australia, turns out, is...
You know, that's pretty trippy to think, like, if you owned a private property that big, I mean, it kind of sounds like a dream, right? Like, I feel like, well, at least some people, want to have a lot of land. I have 2 acres, which I feel like is a lot. It's really not a lot, but it's a lot more than most people have. Most people just have small yards. Once you have some, you want more. Like, I would love to have, 50 acres. That'd be awesome. But when we're talking this big, I feel like that's almost too big. Like, how do you even keep track of all that? But at the same time, it's pretty cool. Like, this guy, he's got some street cred when he wants it. Like, yep, I got a ranch that's bigger than 49 countries. It's pretty crazy, right?
Absolutely littered with giant cattle stations. Clifton Hill Station is 6,650 square miles,
big too.
right around the size of Eswatini. Alexandria Station is 6,220 square miles, also around the size of Eswatini. And the station, which is a restaurant in Warunga, is 0.00011 square miles, but apparently has, quote, no surprises, good or bad.
All right.
So why is Australia overrun with a bunch of bovine micronations? Well, a lot of it is explained by taking a look at this map. Now, the first thing you'll notice when you look at this map is that a lot of it is very red, and if you're thinking that seems probably bad, great news, you're about 1 sentence ahead of me. A huge portion of Australia falls under the charmingly blunt distinction hot desert. European settlers took one look at this desert, gave up, and declared it on this map as useless, overlooking the fact that indigenous people had managed to live off those lands for centuries. But they also took one look at some other bits of slightly less hot, slightly less dry desert, and awarded it the distinction of sparse grazing lands. But even with its not useless designation, Anna Creek Station isn't exactly welcoming. It is sparse vegetation, only gets about 8 inches or 20 centimeters of rain a year, and can reach up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit or 55 degrees Celsius.
What? I mean, I believe it. I've heard a million times from my viewers, from many Australians, that it gets hella hot. I mean, hella hot in certain places in Australia. 131, that's absolutely outrageous. That's like Death Valley style. Oh my God, that's crazy. I was going to say 8 inches a year of rain. I know what that's like. When we lived in New Mexico, last year, Las Cruces only got 6 inches of rain. So I know what that feels like, but yeah, luckily it didn't get that hot. That's outrageous. Central Australia is another planet, man.
Very hot. And that's why the station's so big. Because the vegetation's so sparse, it just takes a massive area to give the cattle, in a good year about 17,000, enough to graze on.
Right, I guess that makes sense.
The largest ranch in the US, is less than 1/7 the size of Anna Creek, yet supports about twice the number of cattle on its wetter, cooler, more vegetated landscape.
No kidding.
So how does the farm the size of 147 Liechtensteins manage to operate? Well, the key, of course, is staff. And to operate a potentially Israel-sized piece of land, they employ a massive 11 people.
No way,
manager,
that's it?
8 station hands, a plant operator, and a cook. Yep, 11. Many of whom are young and functionally apprentices called, and this is true, jackaroos and jillaroos.
Jackaroos, that's awesome, and
jillaroos. By the
jillaroos.
same number of people as a somewhat busy McDonald's, largely thanks to technology. It operates its faraway water pumps remotely with UHF radio waves, and cattle are often located using low-flying plane runs, and then rounded up by station hands on motorbikes instead of horses, because motorbikes typically don't experience heat stroke. The staff primarily operates out of this single homestead, powered by a diesel generator and satellite.
Okay, this is kind of trippy. This is huge. 11 people, they got some tech going on. They got some clever tactics, and they're in one homestead. One, that's it? There's not like a little South Village, this is it. Oh my God. And you'd think they'd have checkpoints throughout, different little structures that they could use, and they very well might. I don't know. This is cool. It's
internet connection. If you
Quite
need
the
to go to
operation,
town,
though.
the nearest is here, Coober Pedy, although, to be honest, calling it a town is generous.
Wow, and that's where it's at. It's next to the infamous Coober, which we all know, I was educated, is underground,
Homestead,
right?
powered by
They
a
have
diesel
some
generator
underground
and
living.
satellite internet connection. If
'Cause
you
it's
need
so
to go to
hot.
town, the nearest is here, Coober Pedy, although, to be honest, calling it a town is generous.
Right.
It's got a population of just 1,762
Wow,
people, and
that's
basically
nothing.
everyone lives in these crazy underground caves like they're in a mid-2000s YA dystopia. There's actually an even smaller town in the center of the property here called William Creek. It's got a
my
little
God.
hotel, a pub, some campgrounds, and even what they claim is a 9-hole golf course, but what is more accurately 9 holes dug kinda far away from each other in the middle of the desert.
you
But these
serious?
facilities actually see decent business from tourists taking the treacherous trip to Lake Eyre. The hotel
You know, this is the kind of thing when I learn about this stuff, this is weird, right? These weird little towns, you have the underground stuff, that weird golf course, and that just fascinating landscape, super ultra dry and hot. This is what makes Australia so appealing. It's got some really interesting and just quite frankly bizarre areas to explore, right? It sounds just so fascinating. Road tripping Australia, I always think road tripping America or the United States especially, but you can even rope in road tripping Mexico and Canada too. There's a million cool things you could do on this planet, but it's definitely a cool, awesome experience with so much to see. But I hate to admit it, I think road tripping Australia would be even more fascinating just because there's so much emptiness and then there's so much in between the emptiness and harsh environments. There's just all these, I don't know, these charming, bizarre, weird, freaky, different things to see. It's, I don't know how to describe it. My words aren't describing it exactly how extravagant it is in my head, but I think you get my point. There's just some awesome stuff to see.
regularly
down
sees
under,
most
man.
of its 53 rooms booked and is the core of the economy in the town with an official population of just 10.
That's amazing.
Both William Creek
Wow.
and the nearby station Homestead are served mail by the Coober Pedy Udnadatta one-day mail run, a delightfully quaint bus that goes from Coober Pedy to
See?
William Creek to Udnadatta on unpaved 4x4 roads
Oh my
twice a week
God.
as an official Australia Post contractor, but also offering spots for tourists who can experience the
I'm
thrill
sorry,
of
that's
going
so
over
cool.
whatever gibber planes are. The issue of the largest privately owned piece of land raises the question, who privately owns it? Well, before
Yeah.
the comments start going insane, I should point out that technically, Anna Creek Station is not privately owned, but privately held, under something called a pastoral lease, where the land is technically owned by the Australian government, and there are
Okay.
certain ways pastoralists are required to use it. Now that I haven't said anything in this video that will upset people, I can move on to telling you that for most of its history, Anna Creek was owned by Sir Sidney Kidman, who at the time of his death owned nearly 4% of Australia's mainland.
Wow.
Before you ask, yes, he is related to Antonia Kidman. Recently, S. Kidman & Co. was in the process.
What was
He is
this?
related to Antonia Kidman.
Okay, Antonia Kidman is Nicole Kidman's not famous sister. He is related to Nicole Kidman, obviously. Yeah, this guy is really in love with his joke.
Recently, S. Kidman & Co. was in the process of being
Gotcha.
sold to a joint venture between Hancock Prospecting and Shanghai Cred, but the government refused to let this part foreign ownership buy Anna Creek for national security reasons, given that Anna Creek lies within the Woomera prohibited area, home to the largest land weapons testing range in the world.
Wow.
Instead, the largest tract of land in the world is now held by Williams Cattle Company, who also owns 5 neighboring properties, giving them a total land ownership larger than Switzerland, and the official title of #1 owner of giant Australian cattle stations, except for S. Kidman & Co., which still has slightly more.
Wow.
To be honest, if you
Okay.
just finished watching this whole video about Australian cattle stations, you're kind of a nerd, which is great because we are
I
too,
am.
and that's how we know that you'll love our sponsor.
That was kind of interesting, right? Quite short. It was a brisk dive into the single Australian farm that's bigger than 49 countries, Anna Creek. But like I said, very interesting to see. Kind of mind-blowing how big that one cattle station is. Bigger than 49 countries is crazy. Now, of course, a little not disappointing, but a little less impactful hearing that it's technically government owned and then sort of leased out to a private holder, blah, blah, blah. It's not as exciting as like if one guy, just one random guy had that much land, right? It's like, that'd be fun. Like, yeah, I got so much land, more than most countries, It'd be a little more interesting, but no, this was really cool. Great suggestion. This video will be linked in the description down below, like I said, so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted. So with that being said, guys, maybe you can weigh in down in the comments on some fun questions like, do you like owning land, owning a huge chunk of land, maybe not this big, but a few acres or so? Is that something that interests you, or are you fine with just having a little yard in a nice house or whatever? Everyone's different. Let's hear what you think about that kind of stuff. And I wonder who's the biggest landowner in the world. Perhaps that can be answered in the comments. Maybe we can answer that in a video sometime. I don't know. That's an interesting question, right? Anyway, guys, tell me what you thought down below. Throw a like, a thumbs up on this video for Australia being really interesting and awesome, and that region being really kind of charmingly bizarre as well. Of course, you can subscribe, join our amazing community here. We are over 80K, on our way to 100K, so feeling really good about that. You guys are awesome. Let's get there. And then finally, guys, like I said, description has this original video as well as other ways you can interact with me, support me. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all, I'll catch you later.